Hey, wanna watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat? Ooh, it's a reboot. So Rocky and Bullwinkle, an old cartoon that was sort of like a variety show where they had different segments with different characters. There was, of course, Rocky and Bullwinkle with their adventures. There was Mr. Peabody and Sherman. There was Dudley Do-Right. There was Aesop's Fairy Tales, etc. Yes, it was a very cheap show, but it wasn't really known for its animation, but rather it was more beloved for its clever, dry-witted humor, and quirky social commentary. And over the years, there have been many attempts to bring them back. There was, of course, the 2000 live-action movie, or mostly live-action movie. There was also a Boris and Natasha movie in the 90s. I didn't even know that existed. It's probably not very good. Then there was the Dudley Do-Right movie, which, well, that sure was a thing, wasn't it? There was also the Mr. Peabody movie, which was produced by DreamWorks, and in my opinion is the best attempt to bring back some of the characters from the show, because that movie was great. They also had a show too, and I think I remember hearing about it, but unfortunately I can't comment on it because I've never seen it. And recently we have a new Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoon, and honestly I didn't even know this was coming out. I had heard nothing about this. And it might be because it's only available on Amazon Prime. Of all the current streaming services, I think Amazon Prime is the last one I would think of. And what I find interesting is that this is a DreamWorks production, and usually DreamWorks shows go straight to Netflix. So I don't know what this is doing on Amazon Prime. So at first glance, the characters look great. I think they did a good job capturing the look and feel of the original show. Bullwinkle and Natasha look almost identical to their original designs, and a few others have had some minor tweaking. I know Boris looks a bit different, but probably the most notable difference is Rocky, because now he has a giant head! For the voice work, Rocky is now played by Tara Strong, who, despite having a very distinct voice style, she does a really good job with the character, and I like that they got her to take up the reins for June Foray, who is a very, very beloved voice actress. And Bullwinkle is voiced by Brad Norm, who really hasn't done much else, but I think he does a really, really good job as Bullwinkle. And the narrator, who is a very, very important key component of the Rocky and Bullwinkle show, because the narrator has to be very self-aware and very sarcastic, is voiced by Darren Norris, who I think does a fantastic job, and I dare say he's probably the best thing in this show. So for the most part, I think the comedy is on point. They had a lot of moments that had the same type of humor that the original show has. Unfortunately, they also add in a lot of fast-paced humor in this version. I think watching the beginning of the first episode will determine whether or not you're going to like this show, because a lot of it is done in that sort of ADD style that a lot of cartoons need to be in nowadays. So there's a lot of yelling and a lot of fast-paced humor that's juxtaposed to the witty humor that came from the original show. And seeing all of that next to all the witty humor that Rocky and Bullwinkle is known for is very jarring. Also, they seem to have messed up Rocky's character a little bit, because there were times where he had like these problems, like he had stage fright and he had this horrible seasick problem, and I don't really remember Rocky being like that. It's been a while since I've seen the original show, but I always remember Rocky being sort of like the straight man in their situations, having to deal with Bullwinkle all the time, because every good comedy duo needs a straight man to bounce the jokes off of. And while they did have a lot of moments like that in the show, there were also a lot of times where they kind of sunk him down to Bullwinkle's level, and I felt like it just completely threw the dynamic off. You know, when I do a Rob Watches video, it's supposed to be first impressions, and I do usually give a couple episodes, but when a show is out completely, like with a lot of streaming services, they just release, you know, an entire season out, I usually just go ahead and watch the whole thing, and even though they have a whole season out, I honestly couldn't continue it. I gave it the minimum 3 episodes that I give for everything here, and by the time episode 3 ended, I was just so exhausted that I couldn't go on. It's upsetting too, because I wanted to like this a lot more than I did. The jokes were really good. There were a lot of jokes that did work. The character design was on point. The voice acting was great. There was a lot about this that really worked. I don't think this show is horrible, but it wasn't as good as it should have been. And I think all of the over-exaggerations and the yelling and the just extreme slapsticky humor that wasn't in the original show just kind of brought it down too much. So far, there's only one season out right now, and if they do plan to continue the show, I hope they tone down on a lot of the loud, obnoxious humor, because that's just not Rocky and Bullwinkle. There's a lot of other cartoon characters where that's appropriate for, but not Rocky and Bullwinkle. But anyway, that's my review of the revival of Rocky and Bullwinkle. If you've seen it, leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of it. My name is Rob, and have a wonderful day.